research a good, what, Chris, probably 25 years ago now, I think, the nurses research project that showed and proved that the synthetic progestin and in particular were a cardiovascular risk and dropped their hormones. And unfortunately, because of that, people's bone density decreased, Alzheimer's increased. So we've seen a huge societal change because people didn't have what they needed. And we have the ability to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is why it's so important to have that hormone balance. So compounding, this is what LaVita does at an extraordinary level. They are PCAB certified, and I watched my friends and colleagues at LaVita go through that, and it took years and a lot of hardship, and they made it, they did it, and they've had to do a lot of things since. But it really means that everything that you get, whether it's a cream or a capsule, is actually what you're ordering. And so as a doctor, that's huge. If I say I want someone to have 100 milligrams of something, and I send it to a pharmacy who isn't certified and really doesn't do the testing, they might get 50, they might get 300. And then who are they going to be mad at? Me. So, you know, it's a good idea to work with a pharmacy that actually gives quality products. So it's very personal in that sense. And we can make it very specific for every person. So again, I talked about the PCAB certified, and it is a very high elite status and a very important one for compounding pharmacies. And as many of you are aware, compounding pharmacies are under risk right now. Like a lot of my medicine, I've been told I can't talk about vitamin C, I can't talk about immune support in this day and age. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've been told that I need to have a gag in my mouth about. And compounding pharmacies are in the same boat. They keep trying to shut us down. So, you know, it's a really important piece that you communicate with each other and interact with each other with the education, and reach out, because we all have friends who are suffering. And it's a really fundamental piece that we have facts instead of the dramatization, which of course all of us are seeing right now in our world. So today we're going to go through kind of our main sex hormones, our thyroid, which is a really important factor. And then we're going to end with talking about what options we have for some beautiful skin. And Chris has been the creator of that and done a beautiful job. So hormone test, here we go. Oh, we're getting bigger. That little belly is growing, and you know, you're working out, you're eating great. What's to blame for that? What's your guess? See, I'd like hands, you know.
Give them the option.
Yeah. All right, so you better give them A and B so they have choices. So which one is it? Progesterone, estrogen, or estrogen dominance? And this is a term we hear a lot, and we're going to talk about that today. So votes? Hi, votes. Any chats out there? So estrogen dominance, and this is one of, and I've done this talk a lot of times, and I always have to say it's one of my pet peeve terms, because what it really is a progesterone deficiency. Estrogen dominance can happen when you're 85 years old, you have hardly any estrogen, and you go out to restaurants regularly and eat eggs and chicken, and you're getting synthetic estrogens. And so it's a really important distinction to look at the levels and the ratios, and that's the piece that a lot of people miss. All right. How about I want to take apart my world. I want to quit my job. I can't tell you all the stories I've heard and seen over the years. Chris gave the example, I'm crying at commercials, and so which one is that? Low estrogen, low progesterone, high testosterone, or none? A, B, C. We need to have a little chat where your votes are coming in. So basically that's low progesterone. And our progesterone, what we call, is mother hormone. It really does directly affect our entire system. And we need a 600-to-1 ratio. When we're down to a 300-to-1 ratio with estrogen, our body's disrupted. It's not taken care of. And so that's a really important piece. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
It's the happy hormone. So it's that hormone when you're feeling edgy and irritable and want to stick a fork in your partner's eye or something while they're chewing, it's bugging you, that sort of thing. A lot of that's just low progesterone, and that's such a easy fix.
Yeah, I always like to use the term postal. We wouldn't have that term going postal without low progesterone. It really is. It's classic.
Yeah.
I did have
all right.
Vicky and Candace responded B.
I saw that, yes. Very good. You both.
Did Candace have a question? Or she's taking her good. Thank you, Candace.
One comment from Jin. Let me see that. Jin Hoyo. I used E3 for 20 years, and now Lavita says they cannot get E1. Please give your opinion.
We're actually going, thank you for asking that. That's a really important point. And we're going to go in detail about the 3 different estrogens. But I will simply say right at this point in time, E1 is your carcinogenic, so cancer risk. So we absolutely don't want to introduce more E1 into our body. And I'm going to go into more detail about that, but thank you for bringing that up so I remembered to talk about it. Any other questions?
Yes, it's from Candace Berkman, and Candace is with Women in Business. Do you use blood tests to determine where your levels are compromised?
Great question, Candace. I actually only use saliva because progesterone, I use blood also for certain markers. Saliva is really important for your ratio of estrogen to progesterone. Otherwise, urine metabolites, like Dutch test is a great example of a really quality test. And in serum, unfortunately, our progesterone and our estradiol are not reliable, especially progesterone. Estradiol is a little bit more reliable. Testosterone is great in serum, but we really don't have reliable testing for progesterone and estradiol in serum and blood tests.
Thank you, Dr. Reese.
Thank you.
Back to the quiz.
All right. So you fall asleep, or you can't stay asleep, or you just can't fall asleep at all. You lay there and you can't even stop your mind from that buzz. So A, high estrogen, B, low progesterone, C, low estrogen, or both A and B? I'd say, what you say?
The answer is?
So again, we've gone back to our mother hormone. I have a beautiful diagram that I show my patients all the time that shows how progesterone feeds directly into your adrenal gland. And our adrenal gland right now, for I would say probably 99% of people, is pretty ramped up because we're in an area of life that we don't have a lot of certainty. And so when our adrenal gland, that's like the gas and oil for your body. And when you don't sleep well, when you don't feel well, when you have hormone imbalance, your adrenal gland unfortunately puts up cortisol, and that will keep you in that wired, tired, grumpy place where you don't get good quality sleep, even if you sleep. So progesterone is really vital for your adrenal gland. And for all of you right now, I really do recommend being on an adrenal support. There's a lot of great adaptogens because we all need the support right now. So estrogens. There's not a cell in our body that doesn't have estrogen receptors. Every cell. It's throughout our system. It is primarily responsible. The two things I always think about it with when I'm working with my patients, of which I have probably over 500 over the age of 65. So they're worried about dementia. They're worried about joint health, bone health. Estrogen is a core piece of that. Our cardiovascular system, we're also going to talk about testosterone where that's concerned, but it's fundamental in actually protecting ourselves. Everyone knows the older we get, the more wrinkles we have, you know, the more that our skin doesn't have the wonderful texture it used to. We can have dryness anywhere, including, you know, eyes, mouth, things like that, that people, you know, people think vaginal dryness, but we're talking every tissue in the body. Right. And it helps our cholesterol base.
And when we age, doc, our estrogen drops, and allopathic doctors will tell us embrace menopause, embrace perimenopause, and don't replace estrogen because it's dangerous, they'll say. It's dangerous to not support these functions, and we're just living longer. Our endocrine system didn't get that memo. And so we have to, you know, not crazy hyper doses, but just maintenance dosing to keep oil in that engine.
Absolutely.
Dr. Reese, I have a comment here from Candice Bergman regarding the answer earlier, the B. I thought B was low progesterone. It seems low progesterone is a huge culprit.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, mood swings and lack of sleep, both things.
Absolutely. I mean, I wasn't sure what the question was. Yes, it definitely is low progesterone.
This is just a comment from Candice.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Thank you, Candice. Sorry. So estrogens, of course, people are aware, you know, our quality of life, too often people will say, well, you know, I'm that age. I don't need to have sex anymore. I don't need to have, I mean, having a sensual life, and I work with all my patients on this. I tell them right up front, one of my jobs is to help teach you to be more sensual. So listening to your breathing, feeling your body, noticing changes. We have a society that is a culture that tells us we need to stay in this computer brain. Well, this computer brain doesn't necessarily connect with our glands, our hormones, our heart, our needs. And hot flashes and night sweats are an imbalanced symptom. They can also be an immune system. You know, Epstein-Barr is huge right now. So that's causing a lot too. But it really is a fundamental part of our own metabolism for temperature. And again, I mentioned bone density earlier. You can exercise, you can take all the good calcium, like a calcium citrate, you can do the things you need to do to help your bone density, but without estrogen, our bones will become more fragile and our risk of fractures definitely go up.
Yeah, and you jumped over the vaginal lubrication thing. That's really common, and I think sometimes women are embarrassed to talk about it and think that it's just them. It's super common, and it's super easy to address and fix. I mean, we have a localized vaginal cream that within a couple weeks, you're nice and lubricated and no pain during sexual activity, or just sometimes women have pain just sitting. So it's an easy fix, and you're not alone in that area. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have another question from Candace. I thought, how do we support our adrenals? Can hormones treat Epstein-Barr?
Progesterone will directly support your adrenals. We need more than that to help treat Epstein-Barr. And I'm happy to let people know that's not a pharmaceutical. That's part of why it's been ignored for decades now. The way to treat it is actually called monolaurin, and it's the drug from coconuts. So you can take it with or without food. It's wonderful. Lauricidin is another one. I don't find it quite as effective as the monolaurin. But Epstein-Barr, they say 99% of us have it. And I literally, and over 1,100 patients that I've had over the years, I've only ever tested 2 people who've been negative. So I think their stats are pretty congruent. And so that is a big factor. And I'm an integrative oncologist, and we look at that very carefully because that's a huge piece that is basically distracting the immune system. But I do put almost all of my oncology patients on bioidentical hormones. And so that's a bit contrary too, as far as what you're going to hear. A good example is, and I just say it, if prostate cancer really was about high testosterone, why would we be seeing it in the 70s and 80-year-old men? Why would we not see it in 20 and 30-year-olds? So there's some real misinformation out there about hormones and the benefits and what's happening. So I do use them even in oncology often. Any more questions?
None so far.
Okay.
I have another comment from Candace. I know I have it. I don't feel symptoms and wonder how I would feel if I was able to treat it.
Well, the 2 diagnoses for Epstein-Barr are fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. And so most people who aren't aware of having symptoms from it just feel more energy or endurance. That's the primary. I use it more for immune protection. I know that we've got huge issues as far as immune suppression and immune building in this day and age too. So I have the majority of my patients on it just prophylactically to take care of themselves and be able to live a healthy life. So let's jump forward to estrone. So you had asked earlier about what used to be called Triest. Now, hopefully no doctors are prescribing that, I pray. Now, hopefully everyone does Biest, which is E2 and E3 only. Estrone is what we call our fatty estrogen. It is what we, unfortunately, in many cultures, not just ours, but we put into animal product, we put into a lot of chemicals in our world also. But it is what's stored, and our fat, our quote unquote adipose tissue, is like a toxic sink. It holds any metals that come in. It holds on to other broken down chemicals and hormones. It definitely increases our risk of colon, prostate, breast cancer, any estrogenic cancer. And so, like I said, hopefully it's ended that people are still prescribing that. My goal is to get rid of it. I run it on all my men and all my women, And if it's high, there's things that we can use to reduce it and reduce the risk of cancer. So estradiol, this is our workhorse. So it carries most of the weight, and it does definitely have a huge impact in hot flashes, night sweats, our cardiovascular health. If you think about if cells are moist and buoyant and able to move, they're going to contract and you're going to flow better. Your body, your blood, everything, vaginal moisture, all of it is important. And so that's a piece that will make a world of difference. And our bone density is reliant on it. And Alzheimer's prevention is reliant on it. So as I said, the most often these days is called bias that we prescribe. And that has about an 80 to 20, sometimes 70 to 30, but a low ratio of the estradiol and a higher ratio of the estriol. This is our most common estrogen in the body, and it runs, 70, 80% of our estrogen. It's also our cancer protective estrogen. So it's really fundamental. And, I can share this because it's a fact in other countries. We don't do it here. Estradiol is like, I did some of my oncology training in Germany, and we literally injected it into tumors in the breast and with ultrasound into the prostate, and we watched them be destroyed. So estradiol is a really fundamental hormone. And I have many, many women who are scared by people they're working with and told that, hormones are bad, your hormones are hurting you. Our hormones are great. What humans create, on the other hand, the synthetic versions are our risk. And they can be in detergents, they can be in lotions, they can be in, any PABA, paraben, mimickers. We have to be zealots these days. I had a patient bring in mascara that had estrogen markers in it. So, it really is the synthetic estrogens are a risk, but the estriol in particular is truly our friend. And we'll talk more about the skin at the end, but this is where Chris shines. She's created all these compounds, and we've had fun over the years creating different ones for the face and things. But estriol is the one that we use for vaginal dryness and discomfort. And the other great piece of it is that it helps with bladder health. So it affects the stretch receptors in the bladder. So any of you who believe that, oh, I'm older, I'm going to get incontinent, no way. You don't have to. That's not the truth. It's, yes, you have to practice Kegels and preferably have orgasms. That's a good thing too. But we got to tighten those stretch receptors. And estriol E3 is our number one that really helps with that.
Happy hormone.
Happy hormone. So here's our mother hormone: mood, stress, irritability. What's not on this list is thyroid. Progesterone directly feeds your thyroid too. So here's your metabolism. Here's your weight loss. Here's getting rid of that belly fat. It really is a core hormone. So I have a lot of patients who this is the only one they choose to support with. Of course, being a naturopath, we partner with our patients. So it's not about me dictating treatment. It's about working out a plan together and agreeing. And the headaches, the hormonal headaches are huge. Migraines as PMS symptoms or during. And I can say, the youngest I used to say was 11. The youngest I've had on progesterone is 9 years old.
Wow.
Family-wise, unfortunately, she was getting in lots of estrogens and meat products and milk products. And you know, we're not educated how dangerous our food supply has gotten. So the parents cleaned it up, and within 3 months, she didn't need the support anymore, but she was miserable and throwing up and having horrendous headaches. And they were trying to put her on all kinds of medications and couldn't go to school. And, you know, so using a natural, the wild yam, this is what it's made from. So using wild yam to help balance your body naturally is a gift to so many of us. And again, it's not about menopause or perimenopause. I have people from all ages, many teenagers, many 20 somethings, you name it, on progesterone, a really important piece.
And just one note, Doc, to reiterate, it does help with sleep considerably. In order for it to do so, it has to be taken orally. Transdermally won't do that, but orally it metabolizes to a metabolite that binds to the GABA receptors in the brain, and it just acts like a natural Xanax. And so you get this relaxation at bedtime. But then
Thank you, Chris. Yes, absolutely. You have to have the capsule to help with sleep. And another note, when we're very deficient, we might have to microdose to start. I have patients I might have to start at 25 milligrams, because if I start them at a quote unquote therapeutic level, like 150 milligrams or so, they might be more depressed and have more mood swings and problems. So, you know, depending on our deficiency level, we have to meet the patient where it's at. But it really, the capsules are heaven for a lot of people as far as getting good sleep, which is fundamental for our health. All right, testosterone. So yes, most people think about it for sexual function, libido. I have to say too, in my experience in the last 20 years with doing bioidentical hormones and prescribing them, libido is directly affected by progesterone also. So it's not just testosterone. Progesterone can definitely help libido. Testosterone, I always think about as your power horse. You know, this is your heart, this is your circulation, it's your ability to exercise, build muscle. And what a lot of people don't understand is muscle tissue actually regulates your hormones. And I think that is something that a lot of people need to understand better, because it might motivate them to exercise. And because we can take things, sure, it doesn't do any good to take extra if we're not actually detoxing and sweating and moving and building muscle for that communication piece. We can do testosterone as a cream. A lot of people do it, literally will use it around their pelvic region and help with orgasms and help with pleasure of sex. One of the things we have to be careful with testosterone creams is hair growth. So I always recommend with people to use it on like their inner arms, because we don't have hair here. At least I haven't had anybody have any problems with it there. Of course, if you coat your belly with it, you might look a bit funny. So, you know, we do have to work with some of that. That is the reality.
I have them sometimes stick it behind, rubbing on the back of their knee or their calf.
The knee, exactly.
Get great levels, and usually, if you're one of those percentage of women that micro hair where it's applied, some people shave there. So.
Right, and some people do that for hair too. So yes, absolutely. All right, andropause. And hopefully we have a few guys in our audience today. But obviously, hopefully some of you will go home and talk to your partners too. Reality is that we both lose our hormones. And unfortunately, it's too ignored. You know, we get all the attention because, you know, it's only women who go postal, of course. Men are supposed to be grumpy, right? So anyways, but you know, it does get ignored a lot, and a lot of men can't speak up about it. And I feel, you know, as far as my work, I definitely am 50-50 male and female as far as my patient load. And, you know, I have many families. I have 3 generations in, and we talk about all these things, you know, and talk about ability to accomplish an orgasm or ejaculate. Not just, you know, are you able to have sex anymore, but all those little pieces really do matter. You know, everyone can say, oh yes, I know, you know, so and so, and he used to be really fit, and then within 10 years all of a sudden he's got the beer belly, even though he doesn't do the beer. So that's definitely a piece that will affect men and women alike, is that what we call truncal obesity. So it's our belly, it's our buttocks, it's our legs, but that round kind of inner tube. But I really look at it, my biggest is blood pressure. When testosterone gets below 250, so they have this ratio, you know, when you go to LabCorp, you go wherever, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, you're old. You're 70.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't consider that old. I've got 87-year-olds who have more sex than I do, you know. So they're like, oh, you're okay with 100 testosterone. No way. I mean, you're below 250, you can't, your risk of heart attacks, of myocardial infarction, I think is in upwards of 64%. It's horrible. We need that for the power of our heart. And as women, I know for myself, I take it too, and I can tell a difference in my endurance. And I'm athletic, I'm active, and I can tell when I don't take it. So it really does make a big difference. So
the big pharma doesn't even have a product for women out there for testosterone. So we apparently do not need testosterone.
Absolutely.
We do need
yes. So here's a chart that kind of talks about, you can see progesterone there, you're at the top, cholesterol. So let me clarify cholesterol. Cholesterol in this chart means omega-3s. We need omega-3s. This doesn't mean the bacon you're eating in the morning. If your body doesn't have enough hydrochloric acid, you're not going to break that down to make hormones. So it really is fish oil or algae or plant-based, but omega-3s. Chia seeds, another great source, of course, eating wild fish, not farmed, very important. But getting fat, you know, we live in this fat phobic culture, and it's really created all of our disease, unfortunately, because fat is our primary hormone for our brain, for our skin, for everything. And if people aren't eating enough fat, we aren't healthy, and we won't live, and we won't make hormones. So that's what that cholesterol term means, is omega-3s in essence. Pregnenolone is the precursor. A lot of people, we can prescribe that also if people don't want the capsules or cream for progesterone. Of course, all hormones go through estrogen to become testosterone. So this is a little bit.
She froze. Hello? Chris, you froze.
Yeah. I think we lost Dr. Reese.
Yeah. I'll hopefully Deb will get her back on. Yeah, I think one of the other points to make while we get Dr. Reese back on is that a lot of these hormones convert to each other back and forth. So often I'll have a patient say, hey, my doctor doesn't really know hormones, and can you tell my doctor what to do and what to prescribe? And you know, the biggest, you know, only half the problem is prescribing. They have to follow you up. They have to know what they're measuring, that testosterone can convert to estrogen, and estrogen can convert to testosterone, and back and forth. So those are important things. Helena, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. And we still have the Zoom group?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't have the slide, the PowerPoint anymore though.
All right. I can bring it up.
Thank you.
Oh, I think she's probably back. Let's see here. Let's see here.
See, we were going so well.
I know. It's probably
COVID was being nice to us. The Zoom era.
It's probably Wi-Fi. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Because it froze.
We're almost through the PowerPoint.
Yes. So
we have a giveaway, so stay on the call. We'll get this hammered out real quick.
I texted Deb too.
Yeah.
They should be able to log in again.
They're probably logging back in, yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions while we're waiting?
I'm looking at the chat.
Happy to try to answer.
All right, I think
I do. I have a question.
Sure.
What if you've been on traditional, so to speak, hormones in the past, and you've had a problem with bleeding?
With bleeding?
Yes.
You know, one thing with the traditional hormones or the synthetic hormones is they're uber strong. Not that you know, hormones are hormones. You can have an issue with bleeding on bioidenticals as well, but that's really about balance, finding the balance that Dr. Reese was talking about between estrogen and progesterone. If you're bleeding, that's saying estrogen is higher than progesterone. Estrogen is the one that would cause the bleeding. Progesterone is the one who would stop the bleeding. So it's about dosing you correctly. And plus they're gentler. The bioidentical hormones are sprinkled in versus sort of like a Mack truck coming at you with the synthetics. So we do transition a lot of women from synthetics over to bioidenticals with you know, excellent results.
And also if your family, my mother, you know, had breast cancer. She's actually had it twice.
Right.
She's no longer with us, but she had breast cancer, you know, once before menopause and then 20 years later after menopause. And she had it on the same side. She had a recurrence. So what do you think about that as far as, you know?
Right. You know,
yeah.
depending on the doctor you see, you're going to get different answers on this. I'll tell you this, that I get to work with some of the, fortunately, I'm honored to get to work with some of the best doctors in the country, and you're going to get different answers. But as Dr. Reese said earlier tonight, she's gives some of her breast cancer patients bioidentical hormones. So it's an individual by individual, and I'll have you jump in on this, Chris. Her question was, you're back. Her mother had breast cancer twice, and what's your opinion on her now taking hormones?
So that is a very, very personal decision. I work with all of my oncology patients on what I would call kind of their emotional manifestation of things. I personally, at least with estradiol, E3, progesterone, I think they're fundamental with preventing it from coming back and success with eliminating it. And I know that's a controversial statement, but I've seen it for 20 years now. So I have many people who are cancer-free and doing well and succeeding and feeling healthy, and they are taking bioidentical hormones. They're very, very careful about not getting synthetic hormones, though, in their lifestyle and their diet and a lot of them choose not to do the estradiol, and that's their choice, and that's fine. You know, we've got other support to help with the bone and the brain, and some choose testosterone, which of course will be, if you saw that diagram, you know, it will go to some estrogen always. But, you know, I just think that's a really deeply personal kind of spiritual question that we talk about as, you know, a healing team with each individual. And You know, we can all talk about our world these days, and if anybody watches television and the news and things like that, know that there's a lot of fear being promoted and drama being promoted, and it is a choice we make to not let fear in. It's a choice we make on a vibrational, on a cellular level. We can feel connected, we can feel healthy despite the world or what's happening around us, or even what's going on in our bodies. I'm a survivor of a lot of things, actually, and I'll leave it at that. But I've been through a lot in my life, and was supposed to die more than once, and I'm still here. And I believe in our spiritual health a lot. So if somebody goes into that decision with doubt and with fear, I encourage them not to. Because if you've got fear, you're going to create mutations in cells, and we create cancer cells every day. I mean, we all have mutations. We all have, but whether we give that energy and we grow it and we build it is our choice, 100% our choice. So if there's fear, I encourage people not to do it. If there's not fear around it, then I encourage people to try different things, and we monitor and we do imaging and we do labs and we watch carefully.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Dr. Reese, there's a question on the chat from Patty. Can people be on all hormones? Is there a preference of capsules or creams on each?
Great question. Yes. The capsules are only efficacious and healthy for you in progesterone. Estrogen and testosterone should never be in capsules. And I am a fundamental believer in testosterone should not be injected or pellets, or, you know, you imagine it's not naturopathic. You know, you're giving somebody 3 months worth of testosterone in one injection. It's no wonder there's lawsuits about that. So yes, no, and estrogen should not ever be in a capsule. The progesterone works well as a capsule. Thank you for asking that, because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Thank you.
Thyroid time.
All righty. Metabolism. So thyroid is our voice. And a lot of people don't think about that when they're working on thyroid. Number one with thyroid is gluten. So I'm going to go into gluten for a few minutes here because it's its target of choice. I have more than one thyroid cancer patient because they love their pasta, they love their bread, they love all of that. And unfortunately, in this country, and it really is only limited that I'm aware, America, North America, and not Canada. I think you can actually get real wheat, but Mexico also. The rest of the world did not allow genetically modified wheat. And so I have many patients who are celiac, ulcerative colitis, you name it, which is directly caused by gluten, can go to Japan, eat everything they want, can go to Europe, eat croissants and love it, you know. So we have a problem in this country because we poisoned our food. Initially, it came about from a wise decision trying to take care of our soldiers. Originally, MSG was put into our food, into C rations, as a cheap preservative. It was our number one crop. It made sense. They could be 2 years old and not make our soldiers sick. They could be hot and cold and not make our soldiers sick. So it made sense. And then in the late 50s, when we decided we needed a fast food industry, they remoleculed it again. And they made a stronger MSG at that point in time. And we really don't have, and they've toned it down because in the 60s and 70s, we had a lot of people reacting to the strength of it, but we do not have true wheat, barley, rye in this country anymore. Even if it's organic, it's whole grain, it doesn't matter. The cell itself is mutated, it's genetically modified, and this is why we have an epidemic of thyroid disease. So hypothyroid in this country is huge, and we treat it naturally. So recently, many of you probably heard Nature Throid has been recalled. I am so happy about, because it's been ineffective for at least 2 years. I have so many patients who've lost hair and gained weight and depressed and you name it, but they were determined to stay on it because it was cheaper. Armor Thyroid right now, as long as it's made, which is what Levita makes, Forest Labs or Allergan, is still real Armor. We don't know about the generics at all, but I do know that I've had many patients who certain companies have switched them, even though I've written the prescription not to, and they've had symptoms. So we need to be really careful to make sure if you're doing a glandular, which is the best way, because the synthetic is T4s, levothyroxine or Synthroid, really doesn't have function in the body. T3 is your hormone. That is your metabolism, your speed, everything. And so we don't know if a person converts. And so there's tests that need to be done to check on that if people do choose the synthetic version. But this directly affects your cholesterol. It affects vaginal dryness again. People can have a lump in the throat feeling. When we're eating gluten, it's really common. I'll feel cysts and nodules in the thyroid gland. Someone cleans up their diet, and 6 months later, I do an exam and there's none. So our thyroid talks to us just like it is our voice. That's the other spiritual side of thyroid, is that it is our voice. And we live in, unfortunately, a world where people are feeling insecure and fearful and untrusting. And so I encourage everyone, drive in your car, wherever you can, journal, dance, scream, sing, but move your voice. We've got to move our voices. And I, for one, I've had health problems because I grew up smiling when I needed to scream. And I'm great at smiling when I need to scream, but I've trained myself now over the years to do a better job of expressing myself. And I encourage all of you to do that because it's really fundamental for your thyroid. So, Chris, it looks like we're frozen up again.
Yeah, we're freezing again here on our PowerPoint. Let me just try this. There we go. We're back.
We got it.
We're back. Thank you.
And see, this is
Audio visual.
you. This is your baby.
All right.
I just tell people, and it's so many years ago now, I can't even remember when, but it was within the first year you started making these. That and I'm getting them again, so I need to order them more.
Right. Well,
but you know, all those crow's feet around my mouth and my eyes, and I mean, my patients were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "It's these great compounded creams." And the beautiful thing with the compounded creams is E3, and Chris is going to explain it much better, but it literally rebuilds your cells. So we can go spend $300 someplace else of something that looks all moist and nice and, you know, but when you wash it off and you get up the next day, guess what? You still have thin skin. So anyways, and we have lots of options there, and I'm turning it over to you, Chris.
Right. So, you know, we did design these about 13 years ago, and it, you
Is
know,
that right?
kind of selfishly, I was wanting to do it for myself because I was of that age, and I figured if I needed it, other people needed it. And you start doing bioidentical hormones when you feel better. You want to look as good as you feel, and your skin is your largest organ, so we need to take good care of it. We did start putting estradiol, that E3. It's that it's the one that's the least potent estrogen. And what science-based peer-reviewed studies showed us was that it actually increases collagen and elastin. It plumps up that extracellular matrix. It's like we've got a mattress that's lost its fluff and we restuff it. It actually decreases wrinkle depth. We don't have to say decreases the appearance of wrinkles. It actually does decrease wrinkle depth. You can't get this over the counter. We're able to use ingredients you can't use, in strengths you can't use, and in combinations you can't use over the counter. And often we're able to bill your insurance for it, which is really cool. So we have two different types. We have treatments for things like melasmas, hyperpigmentations, adult acne, which we see a lot of because there's a lot of hormones in flux. And then we have maintenance, which is kind of the AM cream, the PM cream, the AMI serum, the PMI serum. And we call it nutrition for the skin because we have a really clean, my naturopaths like Dr. Reese have, really pushed me to raise the bar to get at the junky ingredients out and make it a really clean green line. But my one caveat was it has to work. I want it to be clinically effective. So there's a lot going on in all the skin cream. Actually, we put as much activity in there as we possibly can. They're aggressive. Some of them aren't for everyone. Most of them are, though. There's some that are a little more aggressive for people that have skin that can take that, but the majority of them, the vast majority of people can tolerate. But we're able to treat, the wrinkles, the aging skin, adult acne, excessive facial hair growth. So however you remove your facial hair, you can apply this and it greatly slows the regrowth, sun damage, the hyperpigmentation, sunspots, things like that, the melasmas. We're able to treat, often people use those in combination with lasers in office. All of these require prescription, by the way, but Dr. Reese is very knowledgeable on all the options, and we can customize anything. We have sort of a menu of skincare, of course, that we've seen work well over the years, but if there's something you're really excited about or Dr. Reese is excited about, we're able to, that's what we do. We create things on the fly. So it's the fun stuff I get to do. This is what I love.
Yes.
So, I applaud you all for getting on, and thank you, Dr. Reese, for a wonderful presentation. So what do you do? Now you got on, how do you follow through? The biggest thing you can do for yourself is to make an appointment with either Dr. Reese or a doctor of your choice, but it's important to make your health a priority. How you roll, everybody around you rolls, including your family and friends, pretty much. So the doctors will order lab tests. Maybe you can explain what happens when they come in. You're going to do an assessment and order labs, I'm assuming?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm still going to offer the same I usually do for these talks. Is $300 for your appointment and your lab assessment. It's a saliva test, so I get the ratio. And I have a team of doctors. So I've had a wait list of 3 to 6 months for the last at least 13 years. But I do have a great team of doctors, and I coordinate with all of my team. And so we do we send home a saliva kit. It's easy. You just do 4 samples throughout the day, and that's all included. And then you have your initial appointment, which is an hour long. And we do an extensive history, and we look at hormone balance. And then we have a lot of acute appointment options also as far as for the skincare line. So some people might just want skincare and they don't want to do full hormone balancing or primary care. So there's a lot of options. We do offer a free 20-minute consult when you're deciding to work with us. And you can always call. LotusRainClinic.com is our website. And you can always call our office at 619-239-LIFE, 5433, and ask one of our staff. I am blessed to have a beautiful team that also supports my Lotus family. So very, and actually one of my team is a new graduate of Bastyr, and so she will be joining our team soon, but she's one of our team in the front end right now. So.
Thanks, Dr. Reese. In close, I know we're going to have a little giveaway. I'm going to turn it over to Helena, our event coordinator. But do any of you online here have any questions as we close out? All right. If they come up, if you think of one, click it in the chat while Helena, you take over the giveaway, okay?
Yes. And Chris, we're giving away hats.
We're going to be giving away Levita swag. So Levita baseball hat and a Levita visor. So I'll let the first person that wins choose.
Okay. All right. So let me just do my spin the wheel here. Okay.
She actually has an app on her phone that spins the wheel.
Yeah, I have it too.
Well, because we weren't in person, I'm going to throw a couple more in there too. Some B12 shots and a couple infrared saunas too.
Awesome.
And I don't need to show this, right? I'm just going to spin the wheel.
Yep.
And, okay. And I'm going to read the winner. And you have to be present, right?
There you go, Vanna.
Yeah.
I can hear it.
I have Jennifer Klinger. I don't think she's in. And I'm going to spin again. Make sure that, okay, so I'll remove that. I don't think Kaylee is in, so I'll remove Kaylee.
Yeah, Facebook. It could be on Facebook, Helena.
Oh yeah, Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
Hi on Facebook Live.
Kate Gillen, I did not see her.
Everybody jumps off.
Yeah.
Before the giveaway.
Yeah, Helena, why don't we get the winners and then we'll contact them.
Sure.
And thank you, Dr. Reese, for that gracious B12 and infrared sauna as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll give away 2 B12 shots also and 2 infrared saunas.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Helen, I'll work with you on that.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on this Zoom call. Tell your friends, go to winewomenhormones.com and all our next events are posted on there. They'll be via Zoom for a while. And just thanks again for getting on the call. Thank you, Dr. Reese. Wonderful presentation. And we hope to see you soon on another Zoom. Everybody have a safe and healthy week.
Stay safe, everyone, and be positive. Don't buy into the fear.
Exactly. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Dr. Reese and Chris.
Somebody was just like,
were they just there?
Staff. Well, probably.
We're good. Okay, yeah, we're good. I'll get us off.
Hello.